Are there any differences when you're the leader and you're helping to set the goals for your team? Yeah, there may be one or two. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and we inspire. Last time we got together, we talked about goal setting and the importance of goal setting and the fact that it's the foundation of success. Just as when people go to church every single Sunday or every single weekend, they go back and they hear essentially the same things, but they get themselves focused on avoiding distractions and facing life's challenges in a positive way. Goal setting is the equivalent of that on the business side of the balance sheet. With the remember, there's a spiritual side, there's the business side, there's the personal side. We're talking right now about the business side of the balance sheet. Let's go over a few more things about goal setting and why it's so important. Super ambitious goals tend to be unifying and energizing to people, but only if they believe there's a chance of success. You know, when I think about setting big goals, the person that I always think about first is Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, back, let's say, right after the Civil War, when the slaves were freed and we had the 13th Amendment, theoretically people were equal, but in reality everybody knows no, they weren't. There was great prejudice towards the black community, which can be argued still exists somewhat today, but certainly we can all agree that there have been some major improvements in the evolution of that change that needs to be made, that Black Lives Matter has wrapped their arms around, and hopefully the rest of the country can wrap their arms around it so that we can achieve what we set out to when we wrote the original Constitution, that all men are created equal. But my point is that 200 years ago, you would never have been in a position to say, you know what, we want to get black people, give them the right to vote, because it couldn't be envisioned in the South. Well, Dr. Martin Luther King said, I have a vision of seeing little black boys and little black girls holding hands with little white boys and little white girls sitting down together, playing, eating together, so on and so forth. And that was a vision that could be believed. And that changes over time. So if you are going to be leading a group of people on a particular virtuous endeavor, you must keep in mind that the vision that you plant, the seeds that you plant, has to be something that people can actually visualize as happening. It's going to take some work, it's going to take some struggle, it's going to take some effort, but ultimately it's an objective that people feel that they can achieve. And that's true not only in the field of society and getting along with everybody and everybody being equal, but also in the workplace. Make sure that your vision, the vision that you share with your team, that hopefully your team helps you to develop, is something that is achievable, that everybody can see. And when they can, people will fight for it very strongly if you can get them to believe it as well, because they want to believe it. That's what leadership is. Leadership isn't forcing people to do something, it's getting people to follow behind you because they want to. Ken Blanchard, author of The 1 Minute Manager. The productivity of a work group seems to depend on how the group members see their own goals in relation to the goals of the organization. That brings me back to when I worked with a company called COPA. They had a company-wide vision of expanding their offices into, there's many more offices. I mean, when I started, there was something like, 20 offices, and by the time I was with that company for 4 or 5 years now, there were 30 offices. So what they did is they took their goal and they married it to the goals of the individuals working for that company by saying, You want to be a manager. We want to open new offices. Let's lock arms together and get this job done. And believe me, that was a tremendously big motivation for me as somebody that answered, as my mentor used to say, a blind ad from a newspaper to become a divisional vice president of that company, to start at ground zero and move all the way up. It's because their vision was married to my vision and vice versa. So when I did something good for the company did something good for me because it was good for them. Does that make sense? So we want to marry those two motivations together. Before dance came into my life, I don't remember having any major goals or dreams of wanting to be anything. That's a lady named Misty Copeland. And the point is, once you find your passion, once you find your purpose, once you have a burning desire, that's when goal setting really starts to take effect. So one of the things is make sure you give yourself some time, some quiet time every single day where you just allow different thoughts to come into your head. And when the same thoughts come into your head over and over and over again, then you can say, you know what, maybe I should look into that a little bit more. Maybe I should become a little bit more passionate. And when you're younger, you want to try different things. When I got out of college, I didn't have any small ambition about being any kind of a salesperson or a sales trainer. I wanted to be a teacher. Circumstances changed things. I tried this, I tried that, I tried sales. Lo and behold, that apparently was my life's calling. And your life's calling can change over time. We're going to talk a little more about that in a little bit. I keep returning to the central question facing over 50 women as we move into our second adulthood. What are our goals for this stage in our lives? That's a lady named Gail Sheehy. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, my major goal isn't necessarily to work with a big company as the big shot sales trainer. My objective right now is Project Eli, to educate, lead, and inspire my young man who just turned 16. This is, a time when all sorts of new and exciting things are happening in his life. I am focused on making that happen, and at the same time, I'm in a position where I can share those same principles with all of you to fulfill another obligation that I made with the people that mentored me, which was that I would share the knowledge they shared with me and pass it along. That's how the stuff that they don't teach you in school gets passed along from person to person. So it can be father to son, it can be mentor to mentees. Same thing. Great coaches help create an environment that makes the players want to be successful and work hard and accomplish goals for their teammates. Being a leader in a business setting is very much the same as being a coach. You want to get all of the different pieces, take all of the different strengths and amplify them with the players on your team. And also, because people, in addition to having strengths, also have weaknesses, minimize those weaknesses by inserting the right person in the right position. Just as you don't have, your quarterback kicking field goals, the point is you want to put people in their right positions, and you want to make them responsible to the betterment of the team. So as an example, when I was coaching, I had a team where we would put on a press, and it required tremendous team effort. One person would control the dribbler, another would come and set the trap, and then the other three people would fill lanes, the passing lanes, to try and deny those. But it was a tremendously important team effort, and it all started with the first person controlling the person dribbling the basketball. But it evolved into a team effort where all 5 of the pieces on the floor were rotating and moving in concert together. And they all had to trust that the other people were going to do their jobs. Does that make some sense? Great coaches create an environment like that, and then once the objective was achieved, let's say the ball got stolen, we put it in the basket, everybody on the team would start yelling, get another one, get another one, get another one. So that was a form of celebration, and that was also a form of unity. So as a leader, what you want to make sure is your team has specific functions, they act in a coordinated way, you recognize the achievement, and you celebrate the achievement, thereby creating a positive inertia to repeat it over and over and over again. I believe that visualization is one of the most powerful means of achieving personal goals. And that's from no less a person than Harvey Mackay. We talk about visualization all the time. People have to be able to see it. And when we say visualization, it's not just what you see, it's what you feel, it's what you touch, it's what you hear, it's what you smell. You want to be in the position where you can feel as if, as they used to say, as if, all right? So you want to feel as if you have already accomplished that, and that does two things. It puts you in the right space, and it sends out the right vibe into the universe. Here's a gentleman that is very successful that, to be candid with you, is not one of my favorites because he's kind of a screamer, but this is a good quote. Of course I have said till I am blue in the face, people don't lack goals, passion, grit, or drive. They lack leadership. And that's from Dan Pena. My friends, I've said this so many times, leadership is everything. Leadership is everything. Now, we are in the position that we're in right now in the United States with regard to the pandemic because of the current leadership. Now, I'm not going to say that's a good position or a bad position, but if someone else was in that position, perhaps we would have had a different outcome. And once again, I'm not saying what's good or what's bad, I'm just saying that the outcome would probably have been significantly different. Does that make sense? So who is in the leadership position is so key to achieving goals, how goals are achieved. And the people in the team, on the team, will take on the persona of the person that is the leader. They will act as the leader acts. It's not do as I say, not as I do. People see what you do and they will, quote unquote, follow the leader. It must be borne in mind that the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach. And that's from Benjamin E. Mays. Having no goals to reach. Too many people live their lives in distract mode. They're in distract mode. You want to be in focus mode. You want to have a purpose. You want to have a dream, an ambition. You want to have a goal that you're setting for yourself to achieve. When you have a goal, when you have an objective that gives you more of a purpose, it makes life living and not existing. When you live your life going from distraction to distraction, you're merely existing until the next distraction instead of achieving and adding things to your quote-unquote resume of goals that you have achieved. The point is, have goals, have ambitions, have clarity with them, and you will become a much better achiever. So we've given you several things to think about as far as goal setting is concerned. Once again, the most important position on the team is the goalie, the one that's setting the goals, the one that's making sure the goals are achieved. So make sure that you are a personal goalie for yourself and a goalie for your team. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's all get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.